all. So yes, today's topic is very important because many of you wanted to know about this. The moment I had made the shots on this topic about dogs and supernatural signs and symptoms, that they can see the supernatural entities and feel the supernatural energy around them. So we will be talking about this in a little detail, not in great detail, but little detail as to what is the exact meaning that when I say that dogs can see the supernatural things. And first of all, is it true or not? So like in my shorts also, I mentioned that yes, absolutely, it's correct. It's 100% correct that dogs have the ability to sense out the supernatural entities around the different dimension things. They can feel and see clearly. Their six senses are amazing. They are born with it. We as humans can escape things, the energies, the negative energies, if our six senses are not strong. However, the dogs have this inbuilt. And you know what happens? That, for example, if you have kept a pet in your house as a dog, and if that dog is emotionally connected to one of the family members in a very high percentage. For example, if you have one dog and maybe your brother is very much connected with that dog and the dog is very much connected with the brother. So if anything that is about to reach to your brother, which is negative, the negative energy, I mean, before it reaches to an extent that it can actually hamper his life or his majorly his aura, health, anything, automatically that dog will take things on himself or herself before it reaches to that emotional bond that they have, that emotions that they have for that particular person. This I'm talking that of course in the family the dog will love everyone, but you know, it's like a special bond that when they're actually connected more in the percentage level with one person in the family, immediately that thing will come on to the dog. This is something that is written in our Vedas, that they have this amazing ability. Now, I am not saying this that because of this reason you should start keeping dogs in your house. No, not because of the selfish purpose. This is an automatic thing that happens. You know, it happens by itself. This is something that the nature has created, these creatures, that they have this kind of ability. Now, the symptoms, like I had mentioned, one or two symptoms in the shorts. Let me mention more symptoms here that you people really wanted to know. The main reason for making this video is this. Like I said, the first symptom I said was that if you really want to know that your dog is taking a lot of things on himself or herself, the first indication is that if it's a complete healthy dog, the liver will start having major issues suddenly. If it's a complete healthy dog, suddenly his liver will start having some sort of a disease. And the doctors will be shocked that how come suddenly this thing started in the dog. Now, of course, liver disease can happen in dogs in a natural way also. But since we are not talking about a natural way here, we are talking about one scenario. We are talking about a topic, a particular topic in which we are gauging and telling the symptoms. So let's keep this very intact to that portion only. Okay, because here we are talking about the supernatural things and the other dimension things. So the liver disease in a healthy dog, all of a sudden, is a very strong symptom that the dog is also getting affected in a very strong way. That means something was sent towards you. And like I said, if that person was really close to any of the individuals, that dog has taken that health issue or that negative energy on himself or herself, and that is the result that he is suffering. He has started suffering from the liver disease. Now, Another thing that you people ask a lot is that in the movies we see that the dog can trace out the negative energy, or they can see that there is some entity standing there, or some negative energy around the house, or the darkness around the house. Is that true? Absolutely true. Absolutely correct. You know, in my first book, Corporate Chick Turns into a Spiritual Healer, in which the book is divided into two halves. People who have read it, they know, but for the audience to link this topic with my book, to state that yes, this is something that personally has happened with me. That book I have written, that was my first book that I wrote. That I was from the corporate field working with Amex and many other corporate multinationals. And how I became a healer, how I came into this section of occult sciences. So it's a semi-autobiography that I've written about myself, the first half of the book, and then 10 different stories of the cases that I started solving and I got tangled up with of others, the true stories. So in that, I have also mentioned that it has happened personally with me. This is something that when I was not aware of what is supernatural or anything like this unknown exist, you know, because when you come from a modern educational background, like I was a DPS student, you know, and I was doing my corporate stuff further on, you don't relate yourself to spirituality that easy. Of course, now there's so many videos and so much of knowledge which is coming in the internet. That time you're talking about in 90s. So in 90s, internet was not so much available. YouTube was not so much available. So much of knowledge was not there, you know. So that time, so the awareness was not there. Everything related to spirituality or religion or prayers was not of any interest to the youngsters. So I was one of them. So how, when I got my first supernatural attack, I have written in that my throat was actually I actually felt two hands on my neck here, literally pressing it. And that time I understood that, you know, this is something that I can't see, but there is definitely something which is pressing my neck. It's like throttling me completely. And then I went running from that room somehow, remembering the goddess. And I was just falling from the stairs, from the society stairs, and somehow I reached in a very panic situation downstairs. And then one of my friends was there and he had a dog, and I somehow called him and he got his dog. And I could really, before I could actually turn my finger towards that wall and say that, you know, this is where I saw. Before I could say anything, when the moment his pet dog entered that room and I opened the door and he entered, exactly to that point where I felt that something just left my neck and just went like a light, you know, like a freaking light. It just passed away. I just went out from that window. That dog actually came and started barking and scratching towards that window. That means that thing was still monitoring me, that what is going on. So this was my first practical example that I saw with my own eyes. When I was not into this profession, knowing zero about this profession or this unknown world. So this is my story, my example, which was absolutely true. And of course, when I came into this work, and then of course you get to know about so many things, and this becomes a very small thing then. But then when that thing happens with you, nothing remains small. The smallest of things also you will always remember the whole of your life, till your last breath, if you have experienced those things. That's why I say that it's not about creating superstitions around educated people, but it's about the people or a person, I would say, who has actually felt all these things so closely, would only be able to gauge and understand that what these supernatural unknown things are. A person who goes through this. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult for people to realize. Of course, now people are talking about supernatural, so many serials are coming on the OTT, series are coming. So people are getting more aware. Now, paranormal experts have come in. So, like the human nature, they believe the machines more than the man. So, science. So, when the electromagnetic waves are showing that, yes, there is some, when the meter is showing that there is some energy, then that's the time that people believe that, yes, see, this is something which is there, that machine is showing. But we Indians generally don't value our own processes of the ancient times, which never needed any machines to prove. And even those machines cannot capture complete things, these different dimension things are quite crazy and quite cunning to even make sure that whenever they want to appear, they will appear. Otherwise, they would not even show their identification. Anyways, that's a different topic altogether. So dogs I was talking about. So they can see things. Symptoms of what your dogs can actually see is that how you can gauge. They will start becoming scared. If something is really scaring them silently. So they'll be sitting with you, your dog, on your bed or anywhere in your room. And he or she will start pressing their bodies towards you. Or they'll start shivering a bit if that thing is really troubling them. Because there's some entities which actually fly in the air also, and sometimes you will see suddenly your dog has started looking towards the ceiling of your roof and you're like, what the hell is going on? And it's not necessary this is happening in the night, it can happen in the afternoon as well. Okay, so these are the things which are very important. And I always say that if you are protecting yourself as a precautionary measure, if you're taking a protection of from the supernatural things as protection before anything happens to you, you must take a protection for your dog as well. Don't just treat your dog that what's going to happen, it's okay, this is so expensive, why should we take for a dog? Because in today's times, this is Kali times, when I say this is an automatic thing that your dog takes things over, it's better that because you have so many enemies these days in the Kali times, it's always better to protect yourself rather than if something really happens and then you're going for the diagnosis and you're going through the cures and those sufferings and all of that. Precaution is always better than cure. Of course, what your karmic things are, you will have to face those things, but at least it will become much more milder, much more milder than before, that you will be able to face it also. Okay, so that is about it. I hope you take this thing seriously, because this video was also for the protection of dogs, and that yes, whether dogs can see supernatural things and how they get affected. These poor creatures, they really take so much on them that it's unbelievable to even sometimes grasp. But we humans, because we're not aware of these things, that's the reason we don't take these things seriously. Or sometimes even hearing this video, few people will think that, oh, how is it possible? So how is it possible? It can actually lead to sometimes unfortunately your dog's death also, if the dog was completely healthy. And we have come across many cases and many practical evidences in normal life where people have faced this problem and they have regretted it later. So be very careful on this. And yes, dogs do not only sense, they exactly know what is going on in the supernatural dimensions. Okay, so that's about it. That's all that I wanted to talk about in this topic. See you next week with another important topic. Till then, goodbye and Jai Mahakali.